The world has watched in alarm as Iran's global campaign of intimidation has escalated since 2022. Dissidents, journalists, and political opponents living abroad have increasingly found themselves in the crosshairs. This isn't just about silencing criticism, it's about crushing dissent with chilling ruthlessness. From the Americas to Europe, the message is clear. No one who dares to challenge the regime is safe. This isn't just a series of isolated incidents, it's a calculated strategy of fear, orchestrated by a regime determined to maintain its grip on power. The methods are as varied as they are disturbing: assassination plots, kidnappings, and violent attacks, often carried out with the help of criminal gangs. The chilling efficiency of these operations points to a sophisticated network of state-sponsored terror, one that operates with impunity across borders. What makes this even more concerning is the brazenness with which these plots are being carried out. It's a stark reminder of the regime's willingness to operate outside the bounds of international law and norms. This isn't just a problem for Iranians living abroad, it's a threat to the very fabric of our global community. When a state feels emboldened to export its brand of terror, it undermines the principles of sovereignty and the rule of law that underpin international peace and security. The world cannot and must not stand idly by while this shadow of fear spreads. The heart of London, a city that prides itself on its diversity and openness, became the stage for a chilling reminder of Iran's reach. In May 2025, British police swooped down on a group of individuals with alleged ties to the Iranian regime, foiling what could have been a devastating attack. The target, the Israeli embassy in London, a potent symbol of Israel's presence on the world stage. The details of the plot as they emerged sent shockwaves through the British security establishment. The suspects, believed to be Iranian nationals, had been under surveillance for months. The evidence gathered painted a disturbing picture of meticulous planning and cold-blooded intent. This wasn't just about making a statement, it was about inflicting maximum damage and sowing terror in the heart of one of the world's most vibrant cities. The foiled attack served as a stark wake-up call for the UK and its allies. It laid bare the very real threat posed by Iran's state-sponsored terrorism, not just in the Middle East, but on the streets of London. The message was clear: nowhere was off limits. The UK government vowed to respond with the full force of the law, but the incident left a lingering sense of unease. How many other plots were in motion, waiting to be uncovered? To understand the dark underbelly of Iran's global campaign of terror, one name surfaces time and again: Naji Sharifi Zindashti. A shadowy figure operating in the murky world of international crime, Zindashti is no ordinary criminal. He is believed to be a key player in Iran's network of assassins and kidnappers, a ruthless enforcer with a long and bloody track record. From Turkey to the United States, Zindashti's name has been linked to a string of high-profile attacks on Iranian dissidents. In 2017, he allegedly orchestrated the assassination of Saeed Karimian, the head of a Persian TV network critical of the Iranian regime, in Istanbul. A year later, Masoud Molavi, a former Iranian intelligence officer who had defected and exposed corruption within the regime, was gunned down in the same city, with Zindashti again suspected of involvement. But Zindashti's alleged reach extends far beyond Turkey. In 2020, he was implicated in the brazen kidnapping of Habib Chab, an Iranian dissident who was lured to Turkey and then smuggled back to Iran, where he was later executed. And in a chilling plot uncovered in 2021, Zindashti was accused of being the mastermind behind a plan to assassinate 2 Iranian defectors living in the United States. The FBI foiled the plot, but the message was clear: Iran was willing to use its criminal networks to target its enemies, even on American soil. While figures like Zindashti operate in the shadows, the driving force behind this campaign of terror is clear: the Iranian regime itself. And within that regime, 2 entities stand out: the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, and its elite overseas arm, the Quds Force. These are not just military organizations. They are the regime's instruments of power projection, tasked with safeguarding its interests and crushing dissent, both at home and abroad. The IRGC in particular has evolved into a state within a state with vast economic and military power. Its loyalty lies solely with the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and it operates with little accountability to the Iranian people or its elected government. The Quds Force, meanwhile, has earned a fearsome reputation as Iran's shadow army, conducting covert operations, supporting proxy militias, and carrying out targeted killings across the Middle East and beyond. One unit within the Quds Force, known as Unit 840, has been specifically linked to the planning and execution of extraterritorial terrorist attacks. This shadowy unit is believed to be responsible for identifying targets, recruiting operatives, and providing logistical support for these operations. Its existence underscores the regime's cold-blooded determination to silence its critics, no matter the cost. Section 5. Targets across continents, from Ahmadinejad to Trump, a global hit list. The reach of Iran's assassination plots extends far beyond the Middle East, ensnaring a diverse range of individuals deemed enemies of the regime. One of the most high-profile targets has been Masih Alinejad, an Iranian-American journalist and activist known for her outspoken criticism of the Iranian government's human rights record and its treatment of women. In 2023, a chilling plot to kidnap Alinejad from her home in New York City and smuggle her back to Iran was foiled by the FBI. But Alinejad is just one of many on Iran's global hit list. In the wake of the 2020 US drone strike that killed Qasem Soleimani, the commander of the Quds Force, Iran vowed revenge and set its sights on top officials in the Trump administration. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo were among those reportedly targeted. Their security details significantly enhanced in response to credible threats. Even former President Donald Trump himself was not immune. In 2024, allegations surfaced of an Iranian plot to assassinate Trump during the US presidential election. While Iran denied any involvement, the allegations highlighted the regime's audacity and its willingness to strike at the heart of American democracy. Section 6. A nation under siege. The UK faces Iran's unrelenting threats. The UK, with its large Iranian diaspora and its history of political asylum, has become a focal point of Iran's campaign of intimidation. In 2024, MI5, the UK's domestic security service, reported a staggering 20 credible threats against individuals in the UK linked to Iran. These threats range from harassment and intimidation to assassination plots targeting journalists, activists, and former Iranian officials living in exile. One of the most high-profile targets has been Iran International, a Persian-language television station based in London that has been critical of the Iranian regime. In recent years, the station and its staff have faced a barrage of threats and attacks. In 2024, a Chechen man was convicted of gathering information for Iranian agents near the station's headquarters. The station's presenters have also been targeted. Puria Zarati, a prominent anchor, was attacked with a knife in London in 2024, an incident that sent shockwaves through the Iranian diaspora. 2 individuals linked to the attack were later apprehended in Romania, suspected of being members of an organized crime group with ties to Iran. In another incident, an attempt to blow up the car of Sima Sabet, another Iran International presenter, was narrowly averted. Section 7. Echoes of the Past. From Berlin to London, a pattern of violence. Iran's use of violence and intimidation to silence its critics abroad is not a new phenomenon. The regime has a long and bloody history of targeting dissidents beyond its borders, a pattern that stretches back decades. One of the most notorious examples was the 1992 assassination of 4 Iranian Kurdish opposition leaders at the Mykonos restaurant in Berlin. The Mykonos assassinations, as they came to be known, sent shockwaves through Europe and exposed the reach of Iran's terrorist networks. A German court later ruled that the killings had been ordered by the highest levels of the Iranian government, including then-Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. The Mykonos case set a dangerous precedent, demonstrating that Iran was willing to use its agents to carry out acts of terrorism on European soil. It also highlighted the regime's reliance on proxies and cutouts to maintain a degree of deniability and avoid direct attribution. Section 8, a creeping menace, criminal proxies, and the erosion of global security. One of the most alarming trends in recent years has been Iran's increasing reliance on criminal proxies to carry out its dirty work abroad. These proxies, often drawn from the ranks of organized crime groups, offer the regime a degree of plausible deniability and allow it to operate below the radar of traditional intelligence agencies. Matt Jukes, the UK's head of counter-terrorism policing, has described this phenomenon as creeping penetration, warning that it poses a significant threat to national security. Unlike ideologically motivated terrorist groups, criminal gangs are often driven by profit, making them more susceptible to recruitment and less likely to attract the same level of scrutiny. This reliance on criminal proxies has blurred the lines between state-sponsored terrorism and transnational organized crime, making it more difficult for law enforcement and intelligence agencies to counter the threat. It also raises serious concerns about the erosion of global security and the rule of law as states increasingly resort to shadowy tactics to achieve their objectives. Section 9. The world responds, sanctions, and the struggle for justice. The international community has not stood idly by in the face of Iran's campaign of terror. The United States and the United Kingdom in particular have imposed a series of sanctions targeting individuals and entities linked to Iran's intelligence services and its support for terrorism. These sanctions have sought to financially cripple the regime and disrupt its networks of operatives and proxies. However, the effectiveness of these sanctions has been limited. Iran has become adept at circumventing sanctions, often relying on front companies and clandestine financial networks to move money and support its operations. Moreover, the lack of a unified international response has allowed Iran to exploit loopholes and continue its activities with relative impunity. The fight against Iran's global campaign of terror is far from over. It requires a concerted and coordinated effort from the international community, one that combines robust sanctions with diplomatic pressure and intelligence sharing. It also demands a renewed commitment to upholding the rule of law and holding those responsible for these acts of terror accountable for their crimes.